Okay, I'm back from the UK. I'm a bit jet lagged and everything's feeling a little bit rusty in terms of training. So today I'm going to hit straight arm strength. I'm not warmed up at all, but I'm going to go through press handstand, stall to press to handstand, and do some front lever pulls on here as well. I highly recommend if you are working straight arm strength and you're working towards press handstand, that you are combining this type of thing. So supersetting between your press handstand work and your front lever straight arm pulling or skin the cat or something like that, where you're getting a bit of push, a little bit of pull. And I'm a big believer that they work together to help you to create a stronger foundation for all of your straight arm strength training, press handstand, handstand balance, and just general calisthenics. So let's jump in with a bit of a hip warm up. This can be a bit of a follow along as well. So you can see what I'm going to do. I've done nothing today. I've literally just got out of bed and had a coffee or two, and I'm just going to open the hips up. So straddle good morning position. Love the standing version because it's very dynamic and really opens that opening and closing of the hip. But with this type of movement and this type of warm-up is I'm just trying to access what I currently have available. I'm not trying to get into deeper ranges. Like that will happen over time with consistency, but you can see head to floor, open the hip up all the way is like a pretty good level already of flexibility in terms of the straddle position for press handstand. So we can do a quick test and see how that feels. Where do I get to in terms of bringing that hip crease on top of the hand? Yep, it's there. Look, toes are very, very light there. I can even lift them up in that position. So that tells me with the flexibility that I'm showing right now, I can get into a good position to press handstand. Wrist felt a bit hard there or uncomfortable. I've done no wrist prep, so let's just warm them up a little bit. You'll notice I've got some weight plates out as well. So I know that my feet drag on the stall to press. So I'm going to elevate the hand up. Now these weight plates are the same as most like bumper plates. Fantastic for stacking on top of each other to create a higher platform. But what you will find is that there's some ridges, some numbers, some letters that makes that very uncomfortable to hold. Now when I was in the UK, handstand movement, Natalie sent me some of these. Now they're handstand platforms. These are going to work really well on top of there to create a nice level platform that's nicer to handstand on than the bumper plate itself. So something like that works really well. If you want to raise the hands up in any gym, you can just load some weight plates up or something that maybe is not very nice to handstand on, but just stick another piece of wood or something on top. And these platforms work really nice because they've got a rubber platform as well, and they're very stable. Okay, so from a hanging point of view, I'm just going to be using the wibbly wobbly bar today. Ideally, I would use my this bar that I've got here. This one is much better, that rack, but I just don't have the garage set up in a way at the moment that allows me to video and stuff and still get the car in and out of the garage. So I'm trying to work out to get both sides in a really good position so I can get the car in and out and I can have a full gym set up and use the equipment I want to. But this works for what I want it to do. It's just a little bit unstable. Okay, so hanging position, I'm just going to go through some scapular movement. So passive position, active position. So up and down there, just checking how that feels. And then also some retraction and depression of the shoulder blades. So an arch and scap pull, again, trying to keep the arms nice and straight. This one, I'm just trying to move the shoulders and the chest. So it's bringing them like an up dog position. So shoulder blades together and down. It's not a front lever pull. So it's not this. I'm not trying to pull the hips up. I'm just trying to open the chest up in that position. And then similar in the handstand position, I'm going to externally rotate the hands and I'm going to push up and forwards, lots of weight there. So at the start of that press position, like protraction, leaning forwards, lots of weight into the hands. So that real big push position. So if you're confused by that in terms of how you should have your hands positioned, how you should have your scapula positioned, where your elbows should be and things like that, just imagine that you're pushing a car. So if I want to push a car in that position, I want to push as hard as I can. You would just naturally put yourself in that position. You wouldn't look like this. You wouldn't be depressed. You wouldn't externally rotate or internally rotate the elbows like this. You would just push as hard as you can, and that creates a strong position. When we're doing planches, when we're doing presses, when we're putting lots of weight into our hands, upper body, want to be exactly the same there where we're pushing the floor away. So I feel warmed up enough now to go a little bit harder. We want to look at now the pathway of the two things we're going to do. Now I'd say two things when it comes to the press handstand. So I'm going to go from this foundation base position up to handstand. Now I can do a little bit of a jump to mimic the pathway, but I'm not using too much strength at the moment. I'm going to be going for a straddle position, so that's what I'm practicing here. I'm passing through the straddle to handstand and back down again. Then the other direction I want to go is through to the straddle L-sit position. So this one I might have to play with a little bit from in terms of the distance for the hands, the position of the plates. I won't be able to go so quick with this one. Just see how that feels. It's a bit clunky in the hip. Need to use a little bit of bent arm to come back, so that feels a bit heavy still at the moment. So I'm just going to keep working the eccentrics, not the concentrics coming through, because I can't do that quickly like I can do with the press handstand, and it feels a bit heavy at the moment. So just need to warm up the eccentric, the passing through to it, and make sure those hips are a little bit happier. So use my favorite to open the hips up a little bit more, Cossack squat. So just going side to side, trying to keep the torso upright, trying to keep the shoulders behind the knees as I come down, and also keep both feet flat on the floor. So there, I'm normally quite open through here. This is normally tight for me, so the bent leg, my squat is not good. I need to improve on that. My ankle mobility is not great with a bent knee there, so I do need to warm that up a lot. And I can feel I haven't been doing as much mobility that I normally do because of the traveling for the last 3 weeks. Okay, and then I also want to start to warm up this front lever pull. So I'm just going to go in the top position. So top position here is open hip. So there, that's closed hip. That's open hip. And then like that, half lay position, pulling the hands to the legs or the legs to the hands, making sure I'm open hip there and not closed. And now let's combine the movements that we just done. So I was doing the jump up to handstand and coming back down again, and then I went through to that L-sit position. Now I'm just going to jump up to handstand, but I'm going to do an eccentric, passing through a slow control pathway of the full eccentric stall to press. So jump on the way up, show control, straddle, roll down through the low back, through the mid back, now into the upper back, bring the feet close to the hands, through to my straddle L, and feel myself falling backwards. So that's the risk when you're not fully warmed up, or you're trying to access a position that you can't actually do. So in an L sit, if we struggle for the flexibility that's needed for that position, so you'll see this a lot in the L sit, especially in the straddle L sit, and it'll mess people up, is that you're trying to access a position that is challenging mobility wise. So if I go into my standard L sit, if I try and bring my legs closer, what you'll notice, or higher, try and bring the legs higher, what you'll notice is the torso will have to lean backwards to get into the position. I can't actually close into that more compressed position, so I compensate by leaning backwards. Now the risk is when I do that in a straddle L position, if I try and lift the torso up, lift the legs up, bring them closer together, it often just puts too much weight backwards and you actually fall backwards or feel like you're going to fall backwards. It's a bit hidden in the pike version and you don't feel that so much, it doesn't have such an impact. But in the straddle one, you'll often find, especially with those eccentrics, that it kicks you off out the back. Now it's not too much of a problem here because I've only got a small deficit, but if you're doing like a straddle L sit on something high, so say I was doing it on this height, I'd have to be really careful. If I take the legs up too high, I'm going to fall off the back and I could hurt myself. So what I need to do on this next eccentric is not try and come through so far with the legs, and I'll just keep them bent slightly maybe, or just not try and lift them so high, so I can find my position, take all the momentum out of it, and then try and open the legs up a little bit more, but do it nice and slowly so I don't fall off the back. So it'll look something like this. So same jump to handstand, eccentric, exactly the same, but now I go slower, bend the knees a little bit, hold there, then I can try and extend but I can still feel that wants to kick me off the back. But because I was going so slow, I could manage it and it didn't actually spit me out. Okay, I'm just going to do 3 reps of front lever pulls now. So I'm going to pull up to that position, that half lay position. Ideally, I would have straight legs, but I can't because of the ceiling. So I'll stay in that half lay. I'm going to do 3 repetitions as best I can. If it starts to get too hard, I'm just going to make it easier by going into a bit more of a tuck position. So 1. Yeah, you can see my hip closed on the way up there, but trying to keep it open on the way back down. I can't get into it, so stay tucked. And then slowly come down. Open out a bit if I can. So you can see there, in the moment, I had to change the position and make it easier, but I kept going so I could still do the repetitions. If I had tried to stay open, I wouldn't have been able to get 2 good reps. And that's one of the benefits of this type of training, is that you can change the progressions on the fly. You don't need to stop and change the weight and things. You just need to be training at a level where you can drop down the progression wise. If you're doing this in like a tuck is the beginner option and pull up, you can't make it easier from a positional point of view. You can't go into a different shape because the tuck's the easier shape. So what you'd have to do is use momentum on the way up or bent arms on the way up to make it easier, and then do the harder version on the eccentric back down to still get those 3 to 5 repetitions. Then we're going to make this one slightly harder again. So instead of doing the jump to handstand, I'm going to do a press to handstand with the eccentric. So slowing that down, using strength, not using momentum. This helps. So going into this position, see I put my torso against my thighs, and then as I come forwards into the start of the press handstand, I'm bringing that compression, that thighs against the torso, into the handstand position instead of leaving the legs behind, which should make it easier to lift. So that you go much slower into the handstand, still with that slow eccentric. And then if that feels okay, which it does, I'm actually going to bring it back to that start position. There was a little bit of bent legs, so I had to back it off a little bit, but it felt okay. Okay, same again. Yep, dropped off a bit with the strength there. Okay, and then next one on here, I'm going to actually try and see if I can get the concentric and do it as a bit of a test. I might not be able to get it. If so, I'll drop back to that last progression that I just done. But I'm going to see if I can lift through to the straddle L and then straight away come up. I'm not going to talk on that first bit coming through, but once I get to press, I should know if I've got it, and if I have, I'll be able to talk on the way back up because it's a lot easier for me. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that's there. So much easier to do it without the slow eccentric first. Now I can do the slow eccentric, knowing that I'm going to finish in the straddle L. So I'd have to be a little bit careful there with time under tension per set or per rep, because potentially that's not enough work if I want to get stronger at it per set. So I might want to do 2 of those for my work in sets. So that's where you'll be a little bit careful when you actually get a skill or get closer to it, you get quicker. And when you get quicker, you might have to do more overall volume. So you have to get a little bit clever with reps, sets, or just total reps. I could just go, okay, that was nice. I want 10 or 20 of those to give me enough training response so I become stronger at the movement and also get better at the skill. But we did get the skill that we're looking for, so that's great. Now I'm just going to do exactly the same with these. So coming up. Now I think I need to continue with that exact setup with this raised up, but before I go into more repetitions, I'm going to go into an assessment and just see if I can just use the plate. So I'm just going to use this much help from a deficit point of view for clearance, and see if I can get away with not using these for at least 1 rep. It's going to be way more intense because I have to really fight keeping those legs away from the floor. There'll be a little bit of dragging probably with the toes, but let's see if I can get one. So plates out the way. I'm going to use a different entry as well. So I find this one's the easiest for me to create a higher leg position in that straddle out. I'm probably overusing the friction, so the legs touching the arms. Ideally, you better do it and not have any contact there. But with this close to the floor, I definitely need to use this entry to make it easier. So this way, find the plates. Legs nice and high. Yep. So you see how I'm dragging through, so that's not ideal. And then the test will be, can I get back through on the eccentric? Again, lots of dragging. There. So you can train that way. It is taken up, you can tell, a lot more energy, fighting to get through. A smooth floor works really nice with socks because you can slide it through, or you can just continue with the raised up hands to allow you to muscle the position a bit more, but not demand so much flexibility, compression, whatever you want to call it, keeping those legs up off the floor. So I'll probably need to work on a bit of hip flexor strength, this type of thing, to build that even stronger. Probably a little bit more hip mobility through those glutes. I'm definitely tight in the hips, and I need to get better conditioning back so I can superset these two really nicely for enough reps and sets. So hopefully that's helped you, to give you a bit of insight on my training, especially when I've come back from a holiday like this. We all go through ups and downs in terms of volume, intensity. Like, I'm jet lagged, I'm not eating great at the moment, I need to clean all that up. But we all go through those up and down cycles of good training, bad training, and everything in between. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments below. Reach out if you're interested in coaching, and I'll speak to you guys in the next one.